Imagine building a heavily funded vault, securing the perimeter, and then leaving the floor open for anyone on the inside. This is the scale of the Ram Mandir in Ayodhya. Since 2020, the project has drawn 3,500 crore rupees, roughly $400 million, in cash donations from millions of devotees. The project was presented to the public as the beginning of a new epoch, a physical proof that the nation's religious and social life could be managed with absolute integrity. When an organization accepts this level of financial and emotional investment, a systemic institutional failure becomes a devastating breach of public trust. In February 2020, the government established the Shri Ram Janmabhoomi Tirth Kshetra Trust to manage the influx of wealth and oversee construction. Within months of its creation, a private audit firm evaluated the trust's operations. Their report was blunt. It labeled the execution-level management as highly unprofessional. This chart tracks the specific vulnerabilities the audit identified. Despite employing thousands, the trust had no qualified HR department. They had no security protocols for their servers and zero standard operating procedures for handling transactions. The auditors concluded that without systematic records or multi-level checks on data entry, the trust would have no way to verify its own financial health. The lack of structure made theft inevitable. The trust leadership received these warnings in 2020 and took no action. The recommended internal controls were never implemented. By ignoring a professional roadmap for oversight, the administration ensured that the financial scandals that followed were a mathematical certainty. Every morning, trunks filled with notes, coins, and jewelry are collected from donation boxes and brought to the counting rooms. The established routine required staff to count and bundle the cash for bank deposit, recording every note entering the vault. In practice, the lack of oversight allowed counting agents to skim the donations. Staff members secretly added extra notes to the bundles, pocketing the surplus cash for themselves before it was ever recorded. To hide the evidence, the perpetrators deleted up to 8 months of CCTV footage from the counting room, creating a massive blind spot in the temple's security history. Low-level clerks on modest salaries suddenly began purchasing local real estate and building hotels. Meanwhile, valuable contributions, including gold jewelry and silver bricks, vanished without a receipt. When external auditors and the State Bank of India raised concerns about these missing funds, trust leadership suppressed the warnings, allowing the same staff members to continue handling the cash. The missing operating procedures identified in 2020 created a basement-level environment where theft could happen in plain sight, day after day. While clerks stole cash, a separate, high-level extraction of wealth targeted government-owned properties known as Nazul land. Looking at this land parcel in Ayodhya, we see a property that local officials aggressively claimed for the state for years. Then, in early 2024, the administration suddenly cleared all ownership hurdles. This line graph shows the result. Once the dispute was settled, the land was instantly flipped and sold to the Temple Trust for 23.61 crore rupees, a massive markup paid for with devotee donations. The district magistrate who managed the government side of the land dispute was also a sitting member of the very trust that authorized the purchase. This real estate deal shows that the financial leakage wasn't limited to the counting rooms. It was a structural byproduct of how the system itself was managed. Whistleblowers and investigative reporting forced the trust to acknowledge the missing funds in the land deals. Police raids on staff homes resulted in 8 arrests and the resignations of top trust administrators. The scale of the embezzlement forced the Supreme Court of India to intervene, taking supervision of the case and demanding a status report from a special investigation team. The Supreme Court's involvement highlights the total failure of the trust's internal oversight, the very mechanisms that auditors warned were missing 6 years ago. For over 40 years, the movement behind this temple argued they possessed a unique moral purity, distinct from the corruption of the secular state. In practice, the trust responded to the crisis by arresting low-level cash counters while protecting the high-ranking administrators involved in the land transactions. Political theorists argue that by mirroring the exact greed it promised to replace, the movement has compromised its own moral authority. Millions of rupees were lost, yet the real cost lies in the violation of a sacred promise, the protection of the temple's integrity from the very corruption it was meant to outshine.